Welcome back to the dark side. Today I have 3 scary carnival horror stories for you. I hope you enjoy. I've always hated carnivals. Everything about them feels off. The greasy food, the rigged games, the crowds of kids running around screaming. My dislike might be biased, though, because of something that happened a few years ago. I was dragged to our local carnival by my younger sister. I didn't want to go, but I wasn't about to be rude and refuse. Still, I wasn't enjoying myself. After an hour or so, my sister got bored and asked to leave. I called my mom to come pick us up. At the time, I was in the middle of a pretty bad argument with my dad and didn't want to go home yet. So when my mom arrived, I told her I'd walk back later. She picked up my sister, and I was left alone at the carnival. That's when I noticed how empty the place felt. There were way fewer people than I remembered from previous years. Most of the booths were still open, but hardly anyone was playing the games. The workers looked exhausted. Nobody seemed like they were having fun. Since I'd paid for my wristband myself, I decided to walk around a bit and get my money's worth. Eventually, I ended up at the funhouse. I figured at the very least it would kill some time. I expected it to be crowded. It wasn't. There wasn't a single person inside as far as I could tell. No laughter, no voices, just silence and warped reflections staring back at me from every direction. People don't realize how important background noise is until it's gone. Without it, the funhouse felt wrong, like it wasn't meant to be experienced alone. I hesitated, then stepped inside. At first, I laughed at my reflection in a few of the distorted mirrors. It helped calm my nerves. I was about halfway through when something caught my attention in one of the mirrors to my left. For just a second, I saw a face. A bald man with deep, sunken eyes was staring directly at me. I spun around immediately, but there was no one there. That's what made it worse. Mirrors surrounded me. I couldn't tell where he would have been standing, or if he was even physically near me at all. I didn't hear the entrance open. Either he slipped in silently behind me, or he had been in there the entire time. I kept walking. Faster now. Then I saw him again, this time out of the corner of my eye. Same face, same hollow stare. Only now he was smiling. Not a friendly smile, the kind that looks forced, like it doesn't belong on a human face. I tried to figure out where he was, but the reflections overlapped too much. I shouted for him to leave me alone. No response. I started moving faster, but the mirrors turned into a maze. Dead ends everywhere. I could feel sweat running down my back. I kept glancing over my shoulder, expecting him to be right behind me. Then, as I turned another corner, a hand shot out from behind one of the mirrors and grabbed my wrist. I screamed and tried to pull away. He wouldn't let go. I panicked and swung at his arm until he released me. I fell backward and caught a clear look at him. He was wearing plain gray clothes, slightly overweight. His face looked tired, almost sick, but his eyes were wide and alert, like he'd been waiting for this. I scrambled to my feet and ran. Somehow, finding the exit felt easier this time. Adrenaline took over. I burst out of the funhouse and didn't stop until I was well clear of it. That's when I realized my wallet was gone. It must have fallen out of my pocket when I hit the ground. There was no chance I was going back inside. I ran to the nearest staff member and told her everything. She looked genuinely confused and told me something that made my stomach drop. The funhouse was closed that night. They called the police and searched it. They found nothing. No man, no wallet, nothing to suggest anyone else had been there at all. I suggested maybe it was a former employee with a key, but no one took the idea seriously. Eventually, they told me to go home. I tried to convince myself it was over. A week later, my girlfriend called me in a panic. She said she'd been receiving texts from me, claiming my car had broken down and asking her to come help. The messages told her to come alone. Thankfully, she brought her dad. When they arrived at the location, the car parked there wasn't mine. As soon as her dad stepped out, a few men near another vehicle began moving in their direction. He didn't wait to see what they wanted. He got back in the car and drove off. He ran back to the car and drove off before anything could happen. That's when everything clicked. I had a piece of paper in my wallet with my girlfriend's number on it. We both changed our contact information after that. It's been a month without any further incidents, but I still think about it sometimes. I don't know who that man was or what he really wanted. All I know is this: I don't go to carnivals anymore. I've always liked carnivals. Even as a kid, there was something about them that pulled me in. The lights, the noise, the way everything felt temporary, like it could disappear overnight. Growing up in a small town in Indiana, carnivals were one of the few times the place felt alive. This happened when I was around 10 years old. I wasn't the adventurous type. I spent more time in libraries than outside, especially in the weeks leading up to the town's annual spring carnival. One afternoon, I was in the history section of the local library, flipping through an old book about the town's early days. That's when something slipped out and landed at my feet. It was a carnival ticket. The paper was faded and brittle, like it had been there for years. When I looked closer, I realized it wasn't just old, it was dated more than 15 years earlier. What caught my attention was the date. It matched the upcoming spring carnival almost exactly. 2 days later, the carnival arrived. Out of curiosity more than anything else, I brought the ticket with me that evening. I didn't expect it to work. I just wanted to see what would happen. At the entrance, the carnival looked the same as it always did. Music played, kids ran past, the smell of popcorn hung in the air. I handed the ticket to the attendant. He froze. For a split second, the color drained from his face. Then he forced a smile and handed the ticket back to me without punching it. "Go on in," he said quietly. I remember thinking his reaction was strange, but I brushed it off and stepped inside. As the night went on, I started noticing something unsettling. Carnival workers were watching me. Not staring, just glancing over, then quickly looking away. Every time I caught someone's eye, they seemed uncomfortable, almost nervous. Eventually, I showed the ticket to an older man running one of the game booths. The moment he saw it, his hand stopped moving. "Where did you get that?" he asked. When I told him, he lowered his voice. "People around here don't like to talk about this," he said. "But that ticket is tied to something bad." He told me about a teenage carnival worker who had vanished years earlier while the carnival was in town. No witnesses, no answers. The only thing ever found was his wallet, with a ticket just like mine inside. After that, strange things followed the carnival wherever it went. Accidents, sudden misfortune, people swore something lingered after it left. The man told me to give him the ticket. When I hesitated, his tone shifted. "Please," he said, "don't take that thing home." Something about the fear in his voice made my stomach twist. I backed away and left the carnival early, the ticket still tucked safely in my pocket. That's when things started to go wrong. Not all at once. Small things at first. Missed buses, injuries, arguments that came out of nowhere. Then bigger things, job losses, injuries, and losses that didn't make sense. It felt like everything around me was slowly unraveling. One rainy afternoon, after another terrible day, I took the ticket out and stared at it for a long time. I walked to the creek behind our house, tore it into pieces, and watched the current carry it away. After that, things slowly improved. The bad luck faded. Life went back to normal. I don't know if the ticket was cursed or if I was just a scared kid connecting dots that weren't really there. But even now, When a carnival comes to town, I can't help but think about that ticket, and I never pick up anything I find lying around anymore. The carnival had set up near an old lot downtown, and it was busy almost every night. Bright lights, loud music, food stands, kids running everywhere. Exactly what you'd expect. The main attraction was the funhouse. During the day, it was advertised as a regular funhouse. But after sunset, they turned the lights down, added fog machines, and rebranded it as a haunted house. Unlike most carnival attractions, this wasn't a trailer or a pop-up structure. It was a real building, solid walls, real doors. I was told it used to be a mansion a long time ago before the carnival ever existed. My job was simple. I took tickets at the entrance, let groups inside, and made sure everyone came back out the exit on the other side. If someone tripped or panicked, I was supposed to help. For the first few days, nothing seemed off. Then I started noticing something that didn't sit right with me. It began with counting. I watched 12 people walk into the funhouse. Only 11 came out. At first, I brushed it off. The crowds were loud, people moved fast, and it was easy to lose track. I figured I'd just miscounted. But then it happened again. 7 people went in. Only 6 came out. 10 went in. 9 came out. After that, I started paying much closer attention. I counted out loud under my breath. I watched every group enter and exit. The numbers were still wrong. No one else seemed to notice. People laughed as they exited. Kids ran back to their parents. No one complained about missing friends. That almost made it worse. One afternoon, during a rush, a girl stepped up to the entrance that immediately caught my attention. She was blonde, probably in her early 20s, and she looked completely out of place among the families and teenagers. She smiled at me, handed me her ticket, and walked inside alone. I remember watching her disappear into the darkness. Time passed. Groups that entered after her started coming out. I checked my watch more than once. She should have been out by now. She never came out. I waited a little longer, hoping she'd appear at the exit. She didn't. That's when I locked the entrance and stepped inside the funhouse to look for her. The inside was quiet. No screams, no laughter, just dim lights and the hum of old machinery. As I walked through one of the hallways, I noticed something strange in the wall. A thin seam, almost invisible unless you were looking for it. I pressed against it. To my surprise, it clicked open. Behind it was a narrow hallway, completely dark. I used my phone's flashlight and walked through it. At the end was another door. When I opened it, I stepped right back outside onto the carnival grounds. That's when I felt relieved. I figured this explained everything. People must have accidentally found this hidden exit and left without realizing it. Feeling stupid for panicking, I turned back to head inside. That's when I noticed another seam. This one smelled wrong. The air coming from it was heavy and rotten, like damp earth and something else I couldn't identify. When I opened it, I didn't see a hallway. I saw a ladder. It led straight down into darkness. I'd been told there was no basement. I stood there for a long time, telling myself to close the door and walk away. Instead, I climbed down. The smell got worse with every step. When my feet hit the ground, my flashlight revealed a tunnel stretching far beyond the building. This wasn't part of the attraction. Lying in the middle of the tunnel was a white, glittery purse. I recognized it immediately. It belonged to the girl. I called out to her, my voice echoing down the tunnel. No response. Then I heard footsteps, fast, running. They were coming toward me. I panicked and turned back toward the ladder. Halfway up, my foot slipped, and I fell hard against the rungs. The footsteps stopped. That's when I heard her voice, "Help me." She stepped out of the darkness, holding her side. Her face looked pale and distant, like she hadn't slept in days. I told her to climb up the ladder, but she begged me to come back into the tunnel with her. I refused. I pulled her up the ladder, slammed the door shut, and locked it. She couldn't explain how she ended up down there. She said she didn't remember walking into the tunnel at all, only that she suddenly realized she was underground. She said she heard voices echoing through the tunnels, like they were coming from the walls themselves. The worst part was the way she looked at me while she said it, completely blank. I called the police, but she left before they arrived. Later, I learned the building had once been a Prohibition-era safe house connected to underground tunnels that were never fully mapped. The owner claimed he knew nothing about them. I quit the job the next day, and to this day, I still don't know what really happened to that girl, and I'm not sure I want to.